We are great again to have this conversation tonight as we continue from where we stopped last week. Last week, we handled two topics, very important topics: the power of purpose in leadership, and that zeroed into really having the bigger picture in terms of the ultimate purpose of why you're doing something or why you are a leader. But also we said purpose should also be inherent also in other, be it an activity, be it a project, let it come across through all those other engagements. Again, we moved on to the power of character, and we said, according to Warren Buffett, he said that if you have to look for three things for someone, if you're hiring someone and you're looking for three things, you need to look out for three things. I am tempted to ask if we can remember what the three of them were, the three things that we need to look out when you're hiring someone. And if you miss one of them, then the other two will kill the organization or will have a negative impact to the organization. What were those three things, leaders? I think I just felt I had not planned to ask that, but I think it's a good way just to also refresh on the other topic 13.
Integrity.
Yes, integrity. Two more.
Self-discipline.
Self-discipline. Galaxy, today we are seeing Galaxy Note 8. Probably you could mention your name.
I'm Susan. I'm having a problem with my laptop. That's why I'm using it.
Okay, thank you, Susan. So we have integrity, and then we have Susan, you said? Susan, your answer was which one? I think I quickly moved to know you and to ask your name.
I talked of self-discipline.
Self-discipline. We can
core
add
values.
Core values.
Emotional security.
Emotional security. Yeah, thank you. Actually, you have now taken a bigger picture of what we talked, what is critical for a leader, and thank you for that. So zeroing down to the three from Warren Buffett, one of them was integrity. We still to get the other two.
Character.
So integrity, character, then we could combine that. So we are still at one, two more to go. Yeah, I think that's a good recap for all of us. He actually talks of integrity, he talks of intelligence and also energy. Yeah. So, but he says if you lack integrity, then the others would affect the organization negatively. So we build around that, and we really had a conversation of why we need to make it very intentional, to talk about character, explore on how to safeguard our character. Again, knowing that these things are not far away. There's times things happen to a leader out there, and it might look like it's too far. It's not really far. It is very close to us. So that awareness that I need to safeguard myself, I think it's so important. It helps us to ensure that we remain stable. As much as sometimes we might get into issues, then we can easily navigate our way through. Someone said we should always expect the best but plan for the worst. Yeah, expect the best but plan for the worst case scenario. If this happens, what do I do? Yeah, how do I come out of this? So that we shall be very intentional on how we manage any issue that comes our way. Today I want to start with a riddle. I want to start with two riddles. And whoever gets the two of them, I think you'll have a present of a book, Purpose Driven. No, I'll give you The Power of Your Gift. Okay. So the first one, I am full of holes, but I can still hold water. What am I? The first person to respond to get this correct and get the other one correct, you'll have a book. I am full of holes, but I can still hold water. What am I? Any answer to this?
I can try.
Yes, Teresia?
A sponge.
You are right. You are right. Okay. You are right. It's a sponge. Let's see the second one. If you get the second one, then you are our winner for tonight. But all of us can also attempt this one. I am part of the bird that is not in the sky. I can swim in the water, but always stay dry. What am I? Teresia, will they attempt this? The rest of the team? Even a guess could be an answer.
Butter.
Aha, that's a good one. A good one. A good one. Not yet there, but a very good one. Thank you so much, Harrison. Sylvia?
I was saying that it could be a duck.
Aha. And I've really gotten quite a number of people who indicate that. Yeah, duck. Yes, a good guess, but not yet there. Can take one more. Teresia, any guess? Now that you go to the other one, if we see if you can get this, then you get a gift.
That is a tough one. An eagle.
An ego. Yeah, a good guess, but not yet. Yeah, it's actually a shadow. A shadow. Yeah, your shadow can swim, but it can't get wet. And a bird flying up there will have a shadow. Maybe if it's not flying very high. So that's the answer. Otherwise, thank you for attempt. Now, as we build, as we move on, there is statement here. You are required as a leader to have a clear vision and purpose in mind to achieve success. Your vision acts as a compass, driving you towards a future that you envisioned, while your purpose gives you the direction and the motivation to work towards that goal. This clarity and confidence in your vision and purpose inspires your team and your people to work with passion and loyalty towards achieving that shared goal. So as we build around that, as we build on the topic of vision, we talked about vision, purpose. Today we want to talk about very critical topic, the power of mentorship and succession in leadership. And I don't know if you look around, if you try to analyze even your own leadership journey. Have you had mentors? Have you been in an environment where you have mentors, you've been mentored and you are mentoring? And what is the situation like within our organization when it comes to issues of mentorship? How are we faring as leaders? Both in terms of being mentored and in terms of mentoring others. In a way, I don't have some particular statistics, but this is an area that we could be experiencing a gap, maybe from our own personal experience, or from our own reflection, wherever we work, the organizations that we lead. We can just try and have a look and just try to do our own analysis. But in really sense, I think this is one of the areas where there is a gap. I've listened to a number of talks about these discussions, and we feel that we really need to talk about this. And we'll see very clearly that from this discussion, a number of things will come out very clear. One of them will be that we need to make mentorship intentional. Yeah, it shouldn't just happen just in informally. Yes, it can happen informally, but if you have to be very effective or much more effective, then I think making it more intentional will be quite fulfilling. So today we are handling these two topics. Then next week we'll now handle the final lesson. You can see where we are. We'll handle lesson 15 next week. Then from there, we'll be good to go to climax the discussion on 10th. 10th will just be the project proposal. So in other words, we are finishing the classes next week. Then we'll wait for 10th. That will be a Thursday where all of us, again, will converge to make our final presentations. So back to mentorship. Isaac Newton said, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Yeah. If I've been able to advance in my life, probably there is someone that offered a shoulder for me to stand on. For me, I reflect and I look back on one teacher in primary school, teacher Mr. Aseka. Mr. Aseka offered a shoulder. And I was able to stand on that shoulder, even when I could not see far. You know, sometimes when you stand on a shoulder, you're able to see further than even how far that person can see. So we could also start, as we start this conversation, I think it's just also good to start reflecting on who has offered a shoulder and what did it mean to you. And who have you offered a shoulder, and what does it mean to that particular person? Because as I've just said, when you stand on another person's shoulder, sometimes you can even go higher, you can do more. Yeah, and for me to allow you to stand on my shoulder, I really need to be a leader that wants to empower you, a leader that wants to scale you up, a leader that is not threatened by you seeing further than I've seen, a leader that wants to really the best for the people that you are leading. One of the questions I normally ask is that if Moses had woken up, this just an imaginary question, if Moses had woken up and found that when he handed over to Joshua, Joshua did not take people to Canaan, but he took them back to Egypt. How would he be happy? I guess no. Yeah. And that means that every true leader you want your mentee to be able even to do more than what you did. You don't want him to reverse. You want him to advance whatever you've been able to achieve. So this is just a building stone on as we try to unpack this very, very important discussion tonight. And we're saying that as a leader, yeah, and as leaders, we only win when we succeed in passing the baton, and not just to the immediate person, but also how the others that we have passed the baton to are able to pass the baton to the other person. So leaders win by passing the baton. And we're saying that one thing that we need to appreciate is that leadership is not a sprint. It is a marathon relay. We're saying the most important part is not just the running alone, but is again, how do I pass the baton? That's according to Miles Monroe. And reflect on what we have talked about, the story of Moses, the story of Joshua, the story of Jesus, the story of the disciples, Peter, and many other cases that we can see. You see a smooth transition, and when they pass the baton, you see an explosion. You see much bigger achievements happening because of that smooth transition. So this is critical, very important, that we do not just run to finish, but we run to pass. Because sometimes you may not finish. You may never finish, especially when it comes to a big vision. It goes beyond you. It goes beyond me. So I will lead to a certain level. I'll not say I've totally accomplished, but I've achieved my goals. I have taken the vision to this extent, and then someone else will take and move on. So it's not a sprint, it's a marathon relay. And just by thinking that way, it now positions you to know that I am running and I will be able to pass. Actually, it prepares the leader to pass the baton. We have a problem where, as a leader, I am running to finish. I am running without that understanding that it's a marathon, just that alone. This is now what has caused maybe other people to run more than they're supposed to run. Yeah, you're supposed to run one round and pass, and someone is running 5, is running 10. You're already exhausted. Others are passing the baton. They are running. They are accelerating. They are getting more synergy. They are getting more. They are achieving more, and actually they are overtaking you a number of times, because you are the one who is still running, or that leader is the one who is still running many rounds. Yeah, probably leaders. This could also be making a huge difference between what is happening to the developing countries and what is happening also to the developed countries. That acceleration that we are seeing in the developed countries. I see someone like Barack Obama just finished and went, and that was it. Someone else comes, speaks, goes. Then someone, and that system just continues to run. Whereas there is another country here where you have a president who has been there for 30, 40, or even more years. I think that's just something that we need to reflect through. And maybe when we pause, I would invite you to share just something around this discussion. So if you want to go fast, we always say go alone. But if you want to go far, then we need to be able to work together as a team. Yeah. So Warren Buffett again said that someone is sitting in the shadow today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. A mentor has a long stretch. You're able to see far, because a tree will take long to be able to grow and mature. But one day there will be someone who will benefit from this, from what I'm doing today. So that tree that someone planted, that good act that someone was able to offer, we may not sometimes even know how far it goes, but it really could make the difference to a generation down the line. And we also mentioned this statement by Nelson Mandela that what counts in life is not the mere fact that we lived, it is the difference, the trees that we planted, the difference that we have made in the lives of others. That is what will determine the value of our life, the value or the significance of the life that we lead. And therefore, as a mentor, I think we're just talking about the attitudes of a mentor. We have to think in terms of value addition. We have to think in terms of long-term thinking, not just the short term, but we need to think in terms of generations that we could impact. So mentorship is critical, and every great achiever, they really treasure and they're very careful when it comes to issues of mentorship. So great achievers are inspired by great leaders, and they're saying great leaders are great mentors because they love what they have achieved, and the only way that you can sustain it is preparing someone to be able to take up whatever you have been able to labor for. Yeah, so that is why they are very unselfish when it comes to how they think. They're able to give out the best to others. They're able to help others grow, develop themselves. They show some level of care because they know that the only way they can rise is by positioning others to arise. Yeah. So we only lift others, or we only scale up ourselves when we help others to be able to scale up themselves as well. There is what we call a relationship paradigms, just in line to the discussion about mentorship. And this is how this relationship paradigm goes. In one case, I win, you lose. Maybe we are we are working together as two organizations or two individuals. Yeah, we win this time, you lose, then it's over. We win only once. Then we flip. You win, I lose. What happens? Then you only win once. In a case where we both lose, then there's nothing more to engage in. But think of a case where we both win. Then we are able to win many times. Yeah, in a long term, and we're able to have a partnership. Corporate organizations, a number of them have really mastered this. They have stopped. Some of them have stopped competing. They're actually complementing. Yeah, they're complementing. They are focusing. You focus on your core, I focus on your core. So there's no winner. We are all winners, and that's the only way we can scale up. I tap into your core, you tap into my core. I shine in my core, you shine in your core. Then we continue to advance. We become global companies. We impact lives. We are able to be in market for a longer time. And that's why you'll not, some of the companies, you'll never see them using adverts that are more fighting the opponent. No, it's about their vision. They're channeling their vision, they're selling their vision. That's airtime, and they want to use it in the right way for the right purpose. So we are saying the best relationships are win-win. Yeah, where we are unselfish thinkers, and we want to go into a relationship that both of us are winners. Yeah, that makes all the difference. Simon Sinek has written a book, The Infinite Game. You can look at that book, The Infinite Game, and he talks about what I'm saying today. Infinite companies, they never compete. And if they compete with themselves. They compete there with their vision because they know they're in a game that there's really no winner. They can learn from others, but they have to continue refining themselves, reviewing their vision, seeing that they are stretching and challenging themselves. So just to give you a brief definition of this word mentorship, I've picked a number of them. One of them is from Oxford Dictionary, and it defines mentorship as the guidance provided by a mentor, especially an experienced person. Guidance. So here the keyword is guidance. We have one person who is more experienced and is able to provide guidance. Then we have a relationship between two people where the individual with more experience, knowledge and connections is able to pass along what they have learned. So sort of a relationship, but one individual has more knowledge, has more experience, has also more networks and more connections, and is willing to be able to pass all this to the mentee. Okay. Another definition is a professional activity. Yeah, a professional activity, a trusted relationship, and a meaningful commitment. Yeah, so here again we have an element of professionalism. We have an element of trust, and we have also an element of commitment. So this is how we could define. This is how we could define the definitions that we want us to refer even as we continue with this conversation tonight. So some qualities of a good mentor. We are saying a mentor builds trust. Yeah, a mentor builds trust. He's also an active and deep listener. His understanding encourages, inspires hope, and is reliable. Very important. Again, a mentor should be authentic. Actually, this first statement has a lot of very, very important qualities of a mentor. Yeah. One is trust. Can I trust you? Can we trust each other? Am I a good listener? Do I encourage? Do I inspire? Am I reliable? And am I authentic? This is important, and it's two-way. It's two-way, both the mentor and the mentee. Then a mentor sees ahead of what others can see and is able to inspire and coach others to navigate the course of discovering. Because we're creating a platform or environment where our mentees can discover themselves, develop themselves, and release their potential. It's about themselves, but as we're just coming in, or the mentor is coming in to provide that kind of a platform, or what we said, maybe in terms of experience and the networks as well. So a mentor is a secure leader who thrives in growing other leaders. Yeah. As I said from the very beginning, for you to stand on my shoulder, for me to allow you to stand on my shoulder, or for you to allow your mentee to stand on your shoulder, then a very high level of security is important for us to be able to do that. Okay. Again, we are saying a mentor is able to see more talent, is able to see more ability within the mentee and expose the person to be able to tap into that potential. Benjamin Disraeli said, the greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own riches. Yeah, the greatest good is not just to share what I have or share my riches, but can I be able to help you uncover your own treasures? Yeah, that's really important. I think it is similar to the one. There's another statement that says it talks about fish. Yeah, you can give fish. You can give someone a fish for one day, but it's better to be able to show that person how to fish. I'm just paraphrasing it. So a leader takes someone beyond just the immediate gains. Yeah, the instant gratification to delayed gratification. Yeah, we can wait and be able to get a better deal than this. Yeah, so a mentor empowers a person to see a possible future and also believe it can be obtained. So we are saying, as a mentor, I need to build trust. I need to be a good listener. I need to continuously encourage. A mentor is also reliable. Also creates an environment where mentorship is fun. Nowadays, I remember we had this conversation in the early part of our class where we were talking about Generation Z. We're talking about the digital generation. How do we mentor this generation? It cannot be an environment that is dull, in quotes. It has to be an environment that probably could be cultivating, an environment that they can relate with. Yeah, and when they relate, again, now we come in and be able to pass the message in that kind of an environment. So why should we mentor leaders? Why do we need to mentor? It's good to appreciate that whatever we do, especially when it comes to issues of leadership, issues of vision, it's always about teamwork. We can't do it alone. These are words of Professor Wangari Maathai. She said, I'm very conscious of the fact that you cannot do it alone. It is teamwork. When you do it alone, you run the risk that when you are no longer there, nobody else will do it. Think about that business you are running. Think about that organization that you are running. Think about that family that you are in charge of. Yeah. When you do not, when you run it alone, then there is a very high risk that when you are no longer there, nobody else can be able to fill that gap. Very important just to think through that, because these are cases that we've seen a number of cases of what has happened, especially when the breadwinner is no longer there, when the CEO is no longer there. There's someone who was in this class and they was telling me they had to close up the company because the CEO passed on. There were a lot of complications, a lot of fights within the family, and the company could not continue. The company had to be shut down. Until today, they are still in courts. Yeah. So there are things that we can prevent. Maybe there are others that we can't, but whatever is within our hands, I think it's just good to be able to do it the best way we can. So it's about teamwork. Again, we are saying we mentor so that we secure and preserve the future. Yeah, the greatest act of leadership is what happens in your absence. As a leader, if everything you have achieved dies with you, you are a failure. Success without a successor is a failure. Yeah. So we are saying in my absence, maybe in that organization, when I've handed over that organization to someone else, what happens? So the greatest act of leadership is what happens in your absence. I think sometimes it's also good to test our absence. This is something I also try to do. I test my absence and I see how will things run when I'm not the one steering the wheel. Yeah, various places that I lead. Sometimes you just try to be away for some days, see how they run, come back, do an evaluation, check where the gaps are, then try and close out some of those gaps. Again, we mentor to secure the next generation. Yeah, mentorship is our best gift to the next generation because our time is here and their time will come, and there's no way we can stop that. You know, when time is one thing that will just have its course. Yeah, so we are here, our time is here, our time is now, but again, another time will come when another generation has to continue running the organization. So I think that appreciation helps to really pour into them so that they're able to lead and be more knowledgeable as they lead. We mentor to protect and sustain leadership achievement and impact. I said this, that the sure way to safeguard and sustain our leadership achievements and impact is to mentor. Think about all your achievements. Who can take charge of those achievements in my absence? Yeah, if I'm to hand over that organization to someone, and I really want that organization to continue being successful. So because I need the organization to continue growing, then I really have to invest a lot of time in mentorship so that we safeguard whatever we have built. We also mentor as part of our true legacy. Yeah, the sure way to build and preserve a worthwhile legacy is to mentor. That's really important. Yeah, again, we mentor as the overall measure of success in leadership. Yeah, we succeed in leadership when we mentor. And the most important part of leadership, as I said, comes in when it comes to the time to hand over the baton. That's really now when our leadership success is tested. And I've seen with the global companies, this is one of the delicate part of an organization. We started a new masterclass, an advanced level, the strategic leader, and we had a conversation about this topic. I've done a research to a number of companies that have existed for over 100 years. And from that research, we're able to pick 12 principles that helped this organization, has helped this organization to exist for over that time. One of it is how they handle the handover. Yeah, some of them delay even for 4 years a handover. So very, very important. But again, it's one measure of true success. Okay, one measure of true success. Now, the big question, leaders, here, we have seen why we should mentor, the attitudes of a mentor, but how do we mentor? How do we mentor? This is just to provide some hint, again, we could explore more. I know there are many methodologies out there, but just as we work within whatever methodology we adopt, there's a number of things that we need to have in mind. One is that mentorship must be intentional. Yeah, mentorship should be done on purpose, and that will help us to really think about it, prepare for it, study, we'll be learners, research, and see how to give the best in that kind of a relationship. Two, we are saying mentorship also requires matchmaking. Yeah, so there should be a match between the person and the mentor and the mentee, based on a number of factors, probably including experience. It could also be the field of study, among other qualities. Mentorship also should thrive in a mentorship culture. We should build a mentorship culture, also mindset and environment. A mentor and mentee should endeavor to cultivate mentorship culture. Mentorship culture is very, very important in an organization, because mentorship is a process and we have to walk through that process. It has to be very smooth in terms of how we handle mentorship. I saw there's a time when government was trying to fast track succession plan, and yes, it has some impact, but it may never work to the desired level, because it takes time. This is not something that we can just do a memo today and we say we want to manage succession planning. That could just be a start, but we have to make it a process, so that we don't have those gaps that we're talking about to fast track. So mentorship again requires authenticity. As I said, both success and failure should be embraced, should be part of learning. Yeah, normally say that if you want to inspire someone, then share your success story. But if you really want to impact that person, take the person behind the scenes, failures, struggles. Yeah, so valuable lessons can be derived from both cases. They can come from failure. They can also come from failures and as well as success. So authenticity, very important, and that's why talking about building trust, making it a relationship that is more continuous, where people are able to, the mentor and the mentee are able now to really open up. Again, we are saying it's futuristic. Yeah, anywhere we are talking about habits, then the element of time will always come in. And that means that the mentor and mentee should value today, but again, treasure tomorrow, visualize tomorrow. They should take advantage of the moment, but again, appreciate that some of the changes might take time. Yeah, so it's a process. I normally try to compare this with a farm-based success system. A farmer is one of the best success systems that works practically. Yeah, when a farmer has seeds, he or she knows the seeds must be in the right environment. If I have them in the house, then nothing should happen. I need to take them out. I need to plant them. I need to wait. If it's my maize, maybe for how many months, and then all that happens. So it's a process. Some of the changes will require time, a lot of investment. Again, mentorship also requires, we need to think about a methodology. That's why I said making it more formal, more intentional, more structured, which also talks about having some sort of, what are the checks? How do we track? Yeah, how do we communicate? How do we manage our progress? How do we know if we are succeeding or we are not succeeding? So creating probably some agreements, some plans, some feedback. That's part of what will now formalize this aspect of mentorship. In A career environment, I think this works quite well in a career environment because that's really structured. I don't know how to what level we could call that mentorship, but it has some element of mentorship. And again, I think the structures are well documented. So mentorship again is achieved outside of a comfort zone. Both of us, the mentor and the mentee, should be ready to stretch ourselves beyond the comfort zone. Yeah, a lot of patience, a lot of persistence. Sometimes a lot of many mentorships, they are bought along the way, especially if we don't really appreciate that we have to get and be uncomfortable sometimes for the rich to succeed. So patience, we need to focus, maintain focus. Also, probably how do we negotiate when we're having challenges? How do we revert back? How do we sustain momentum all the way? In a relationship or in a team formation, when you're building up or forming a team, there are those stages where we have the formation stage. Nothing bad happens there. Everybody is happy until you get to the storming stage, where now we start to getting into the nitty-gritty of each person, starting to know the weakness of the other person, and there is a lot of storming. Then we normalize, then we perform, and then we adjourn. So that has to, it also happens when it comes to a mentorship relationship. So we need to be open-minded, yeah, because it's a learning process. So we have to continuously make adjustments and develop new habits. As I said, it has to be fun. We have to encourage creativity. Again, very important, pause to celebrate every little success in the process of mentorship. Yeah, you have to recognize when something positive has happened and pause to be able to celebrate. So mentorship also requires that we consistently continue to grow. Both of us, both the mentor and the mentee, are benefiting. We are all feeding into each other. So that means that as a mentor, I need to continue learning, and as a mentee, I also need to continue learning as well. There are 3 C's of mentorship. 3 C's of mentorship that are important, and I think just good to reflect on these 3 key roles, which are important for the success of the mentor-mentee relationship. In one case, we have the role where the mentor plays the role of a consultant. This works well in the industry, in the formal industry. So mentors provide specialized recommendation based on a wealth of industry knowledge. Yeah, so they're able to share the industry insight. Maybe someone has worked in that company for 10, 20 or so years, so he has a lot of insights. He's able to share that, the real world experience. Yeah, so that kind of an experience, the mentee is able to benefit from the insight from the mentor, and that can save a lot of time, and the mentee could use more time now to be able to research on more innovative initiatives. So a consultant kind of a mentorship. The second is a counselor, where a mentor acts like a counselor. Yeah, so here it's about listening, it's about guiding without giving all the answers. Yeah, so as a counselor, it's about providing guidance, sometimes not answers, enabling the mentee to be able to figure out their own answers. Yeah, so again, we are saying the choice between when do you become a counselor, when do you become a consultant, that depends with the setup, with the environment, and also with the purpose for mentorship. So for the case of a counselor, allowing the mentee to navigate their situation, get their own answers, not only uncover the answer to their mentee immediate problem, but also it helps the mentee to learn. Yeah, to learn lifelong skill that will be able to help the mentee for a long time. So a counselor, it's about listen, provide an ear, let the mentee explore personal personal answers. Then a cheerleader, the last one is a cheerleader. Here it's about providing feedback, advice, support, enthusiasm, celebrating with the mentees, no matter how small or how big the success. Yeah, so a cheerleader, I'm there to cheer you. I'm there to give you feedback. I'm there to provide support, enthusiasm, pause and tell you and celebrate with the mentee, regardless of how big, how small the success is. So a mentor, again, we're saying it's important to know when to switch roles. When do I become a consultant, a counselor, or a cheerleader? Yeah, so being a mentor is more than probably sometimes just offering the solution, but is also sharing expertise with a consultant mindset, providing guidance with a counselor mindset, and also being a cheerleader when the mentee needs it most. So leaders, we could play all these roles, or you could have more strength on one particular role. But I think just having that understanding of the three roles is important. There are times we function or we're able to perform these roles, but maybe we could not really place them clearly where they belong. But now with that understanding, then I can know where is which area am I strong at, and probably if I'm able to switch, the better. Okay, so let's conclude by talking about the 4 phases of mentorship. Every successful mentorship goes through these 4 phases. Start with the preparation, negotiation, enabling growth, then we close. Yeah, and they are very important because they help us to be more structured in our mentorship. So for preparation, what happens for the first phase, preparation? There are some strategies here when we are getting into this relationship. One, in the preparation, we say we initiate contact with each other. We also talk about our background, take time to know each other, past experience, especially in any other mentorship that we have undertaken. Again, what is my best learning style? What are my goals? These are some of the issues that are discussed in the preparation stage. What are the expectations? Again, we also define what mentorship is all about so that our expectations are well aligned. What are the deliverables? Yeah. What are the limitations? Then personal and learning style. So it's more of just laying the ground, opening up, trying to understand each other so that when we start the journey, then we can be able to really have that understanding of each other. Then we move on to negotiating. Now we have set the stage. We are now ready to engage. So we need to negotiate some things. For example, time. How much time can be committed to the relationship on a regular basis? Yeah. What are the goals? Which again should be smart. How do we engage? Do we have a formal agenda? Do we have topic-driven agendas? Do we have check-in conversation? Do we use a journal to stay focused? How do we monitor progress? How do we follow up on issues? What are the ground rules? This is negotiations. Yeah, confidentiality, boundaries, hot topics. How do we handle them? Yeah, again, expectations and plan. You're saying they will change, so we need to be flexible even as we negotiate. How do we evaluate progress, milestone, and how do we measure success? What does success look like? So leaders, you can see negotiation, yeah, talking about time, talking about goals, talking about how we engage, ground rules, progress, and all that, measuring success and all that. So once we have known each other, we have negotiated, then now we move on to enabling growth. Enabling growth. This is now where true or the real work of mentorship happens. So in this particular phase, we are saying we need to have regular check-in. We need to actively listen and advise, ask and give feedback, because this is now the space where mentorship is happening. Provide timely support, create appropriate challenges to facilitate learning. Again, we need to use time together productively. Again, evaluate goals, deadlines through the process. We also need to give constructive criticism and accept and reflect on it. Advise, continuously advise, find other resources where necessary. And we are saying don't shy away from difficult conversation, because mentorship is a safe place to talk. And again, we have to continuously celebrate small success. So enabling growth, this is where real mentorship is happening. So we say we are now implementing whatever we negotiated on. Yeah. So as we implement that, then we need to check in on these issues of actively listening, among other things that we have mentioned. Then, as we come to a close, the last phase, we are saying coming up to closure. Yeah. What happens here? We are saying be sensitive to when the relationship should end. Sometimes you have clear-cut timelines, but sometimes you have to sense maybe when do we end. So sensitivity is important. Find a personal way to express your feelings about the experience. Give and receive thanks. If you are disappointed in the outcome, identify and express the positive benefits you gained as well as the results. Yeah, there's something positive, regardless of how the mentorship journey has been. So we take time to consider what you learned and identify what you will do differently, maybe in another mentorship relationship, and then celebrate. So leaders, those are the 4 phases of mentorship. And I want to just close this up by mentioning the 5 steps of leadership development of mentorship. And I'll use an example of a car where you have a driver and a co-driver. So in the first scenario, here you are as a mentor and you have your mentee who is your co-driver. So what happens at that particular stage? I drive. My mentee is watching, but we continue to talk. We continue to have a conversation. Then I continue to the second stage. I'm still the driver. Now I have invited my mentee to provide some support. Maybe look at the map, GPS, all that. But we are also talking. Stage 3. What happens is that I am no longer the driver. The mentee is now the driver. I'm helping. Maybe I'm looking at the GPS and I'm telling my mentee, turn this. We are talking. We continue. The mentee is still driving. Now I'm not providing any support. I'm just watching. We are talking. Then by the time we get to level 5, I am no longer there. The mentee is now driving and the mentee has taken up someone else. And the cycle continues. Yeah. So just good to think about this as well, that it's a very systematic way of undertaking mentorship or doing mentorship, and making it very practical in terms of how we engage, very intentional, and just ensuring that we flow as indicated on this. Maybe you could also share your thoughts around this as we share our reflection. So what are we saying? We should focus on nurturing successors. As purpose-centered and vision-driven leaders, we should focus on nurturing successors, because our greatest contribution to the future generation is our successor. Yeah, we are saying success without a successor, that will be failed leadership, which is really what we want to avoid by all means. So we safeguard and solidify our leadership by ensuring that we mentor and we lead and influence through inspiration, empowerment, and more importantly, through mentorship. So leaders, I believe this is a very, very important conversation. And I think it's just fair enough as we think through what we have shared. I believe all of us, maybe we are trying to look at our environment, see if you are mentoring someone, how has the journey been, what are some of the tips that you can now include in your mentorship. If you are looking for a mentor, again, we also have some guidance in terms of how we should be able to engage. But I think by the bigger picture here is that mentorship is critical, and mentorship should be done on purpose, and mentorship should be more intentional. That will help us to really prepare and create an environment where mentorship succeeds. I want to pause there and just invite you, maybe just to add your voice. You could share a case, you could share your own personal experience on this, or just amplify what we have mentioned, or just share your take homes as well. Then we'll have the final discussion for tonight. Could I start with Teresia, then I move on to Sylvia, then I move to Susan, Harrison, Vitalis, and then we'll conclude with Mary. Let me start with Teresia with you.
Okay, thank you very much for that in-depth teaching. Mine will be like more of a question. Can one be mentored without knowing you're being mentored? As in, I will give an example. And then, can you also mentor without really saying you're mentoring? Let's say in a scenario of an organization. The example that I'll give is my personal example. I remember I mentioned here how one of my CEO in one company I worked for years ago, he saw, we have learned and we have seen like there's someone who can see more talent and ability in you. And I think that is what he saw. And like he mentored that time, I didn't know whether it was mentoring, but looking back, I see like it was mentoring. And I grew, and he would take me to one department and then another, and it was successful, and another. But now the problem that came in was that the people I was mentoring and at the same time training, on job training, I realized that once I do all that, when they are delegated to their various points of work, they would earn more than me. And I was asking for a raise and I wasn't given raises. And a time came, I was burnt out. I had burnout. And you see, as we have seen, like it has to be a teamwork where it's win-win. And you find that in the department that I was in, I would work, there was no one. So you find if I want to go and leave, there was no one to leave. And if there's someone temporarily, I would work from home. And this provided some demoralization. And I felt now it's time for me to look for a job, another job, which I did. And I went on after I gave my resignation, that is when now he wanted to give me a raise. But I said, now it's coming a little bit too late. But now my question is, you're mentored, but at the same time, you're not seeing like the benefit of it. You are also mentoring. And again, now you find these people are moving on and you're still stagnant. And this in an organization, it's kind of demoralizing. And learning now, going forward, you find that for me, I wouldn't, because I went to another company, and those are the things that I went and changed also. Seeing that you are working as a team, but some are benefiting, others are not. And I hope to get an answer whether that is mentoring. You can be mentored without really one-on-one, someone telling you, I'm mentoring you. Or can you also mentor and you're not telling these people you're mentoring them, but you're doing it? I think that's my question and also my experience that I got.
Okay, thank you so much, Teresia. Before I share my comments, I want to invite the team. I know we have listened to that question, and I don't know if anybody will wish to make a contribution, maybe from your own experience as well, in regards to what Teresia has mentioned. Yeah, anybody who can make a contribution to that question?
I think when you mentor others, you are not expecting anything. You are not expecting anybody to reciprocate. You are just doing it because you want them to be they can even be better than you are. They can, I mentor them and they become better. I feel, yes, they are better than I am. And I feel happy. So you can be mentored without, maybe somebody will not tell you that I'm mentoring you, but you are working with that person. You see that person, what that person is doing, and you admire, because those are the things that are good. You admire what this person is doing, and you feel like, what, I want to be like this person. So there you have not been told, I want to mentor you now, but you are walking the journey with that person. You see, like the way Jesus did. Jesus did not tell the disciples that, now sit here, I want to train you. But he walked with them all the way through. They learned from Jesus whatever he was doing. And because they walked with him, they did what they learned from him. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for that. I can pick one more.
Yeah, I think to answer that question, and I agree with those comments, I think you are being mentored, because you can be mentored by somebody, explaining things and telling you how it is. But you could also be mentored by observing. Somebody just exposes you and you learn by observation. Because I think the bottom line is being impacted with knowledge, with skill, with understanding, and it leaves you better. And even the person mentoring you may not be knowing that actually he or she is mentoring you. But by exposing you, then what is happening to his mentorship without knowing.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. I think one thing I can pick from that scenario, it's also a gap in terms of leadership in a way, because I think you're talking about maybe some element of equality. I think those are fairness. Those could be more leadership issues that I can pick among other things that you have mentioned. Because even before now, we really talk about the mentorship itself. We have to look at the kind of leadership that is there. Do we really have the kind of leadership that you're talking about tonight here? Because if that lacks, then it also affects many other. Even now, we may even not even talk about mentorship, because that again is anchored on the kind of leadership that is demonstrated. So I pick an issue of leadership. Leaders, remember we talked about the 5 whys. Ask why 5 times. Why is this happening? Why is it happening? Why is it happening? Until we now get to what is the real issue? What is the real issue? Yeah. And one of the cases that we discussed was a case of uncommitted staff. And we asked ourselves 5 questions. Why are they not committed? One, I think one of the cases was they are not involved in decision making. Why are they not involved? Why are they not involved? And again, in our case, that was just an imaginary case. It was that the top leadership or the executive were not adequately, the capacity in terms of leadership was not adequately equivalent to the task. So the kind of leadership, the leaders themselves were not well equipped, so that they appreciate some of those issues that we talked about of participative leadership and mentorship and all that. So when we ask ourselves 5 questions, then probably we could now be able to see what is the root cause. So I see an issue of leadership. 2, it's also good to distinguish between a mentor and a role model. Yeah, a mentor and a role model. And I just pick one definition here of a mentor and a role model. Just in addition to what we have discussed, I will post this on the group. So for a mentor, we are saying the express definition of a mentor is someone usually known to the other person with more experience and knowledge who guides and teaches that person face to face. A role model, on the other hand, is usually someone that is not known to the person, but whom they look up to and who influences the way they live and act. So you can see that so that we know, are we talking about a mentor or are we talking a role model? Yeah, a role model could even be someone who is far away, but you're following that person, you're learning from that person. That person doesn't know. I think the other important question or the other important aspects to consider in a mentorship is also the level of commitment. When we all know, then we have check and balances. But if we don't know, maybe one knows, the other one doesn't know, I can always quit if my level of commitment is not really that high. I can quit without you knowing. But in a case where we really want to have a very, very meaningful engagement in terms of mentorship, then it's known to both of us, so that there are check and balances, and we can ensure that we are fully committed into that. But I agree, there are times it happens without that clarity. There are times it happens from one party, the other part not knowing. And personally, I've seen a number of people trying to approach you. Again, it has to be a relationship for it to succeed. So I think I just felt I need to mention those 3 things. 1, the gap of leadership maybe in that organization. 2, mentorship versus role model versus a mentor, just to distinguish that. And then to appreciate that when we engage in a relationship knowingly, the chances of sustaining and maintaining that relationship are high, because there is a high level of commitment and there are also checks and balances. That's that's my thoughts, and including to what Sylvia and Harrison have shared. Teresia, I don't know, where are we now? How do you have you picked something that probably you can connect?
It is clearly elaborated and well understood.
Thank you. Thank you so much even for raising the question, because I think that's what really important. I've seen this question has a number of questions have emerged in this discussion, especially on is exactly what you have raised, where you mentoring someone doesn't know. But I think the feeling here is, yes, it could happen, but a more meaningful conversation, a more sustainable conversation will happen when there are clear structures. But again, we appreciate the different environments. Sylvia, any reflection on this discussion?
I can say that I've learned about who a mentor is. That I am a mentor, I should encourage and inspire hope in other people. Also, I should not give up even when they don't actually get exactly what I want, but I should be there to encourage them. I've also learned that mentorship is, mentorship is teamwork. You cannot do it alone. You need others. I've also learned that it is the path to true legacy. That even when I'm not there, somebody will say, so and so helped me or guided me. But if I die and there is no impact that I've left behind, there is nothing, I die with what I have, then I've not mentored anybody. So that is a bit of what I have learned today, and thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia, for the input. Susan. Susan, welcome, and share your reflection as well.
Evening, leaders.
Good evening, Susan.
Today I have learned a lot about the laws of mentors. And in particular, I'll give you a scenario of whereby I dealt with counseling of a Form 2 student who was brought to me. This boy was a victim who used to be a ring leader in school. He used to organize the strikes and everything in school. And the parents were so much worried about how he's behaving and whether he's going to finish school. So he was brought to us. And when everybody looked at him, they said they are not going to do with the boy because he looked tough and could not even listen to anybody. So I was told to handle over the boy. This boy was a Form 2 by then. So that is the time I learned that as a good counselor, you have to listen to somebody and you guide the way forward. So this boy came to me and I asked him to tell me what makes him hate the school and why he's behaving the way he is doing. And I give him a paper to write the do's and the don'ts he doesn't like. And after writing the do's, we discussed the do's and we also discussed the don'ts. This is the time I realized that the do's, this boy wants to show off in school. He wanted to feel he is great, and he wanted to show everybody else that he is somebody big. So with that conflict with the teachers, the parents, and everybody, and nobody could listen to her and to him, and nobody could understand him. So when he came to me, we shared. I had to have about 7 sessions with him, and since his grade were going down because he used to get D's. But when we started sharing and I took keen interest to listen, it is very important to listen to somebody and to understand. I listened to him, and when he went to Form 2, Form 3, he started improving. He started getting a C. And to cut the long story short, when he went to Form 4, he managed to get a B+, and he joined Nairobi University, and he qualified with the first degree honor. Currently, he's working in Eldoret, and he usually calls me and the parents. They were so happy about it. So what I want to say is that when you are supposed to mentor, you have to know your role, what you are doing, and do the right thing so that you achieve your goal. Otherwise, I've learned a lot from our lessons today, and I hope to put in practice what we have learned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. And before Susan, I move on to the next person, I would wish we pick what are the success factors from Susan's case. And this one I'll open it up to Susan and all of us who have listened to her case. What are some of the success factors that we can identify from this case of Susan? Maybe I just first get a reaction from the others, and then Susan will also share the just to highlight 1, 2, 3, or 4. But let me just get from maybe Teresia. What do you think could be the success factor? One of the success factor from that story. I know it's a quick question, but we can just to analyze it.
Say the positive turnaround, and then also the feedback. The feedback is that you are able to give a feedback, and also working with this young man to the that he went up to the grade that he got. That shows 100% turnaround, which is an encouragement to the counselor, and also it also gives her motivation to move on with her career well. Thank you.
Yeah, there was, I think, the element of good feedback, the turnaround, and then the process. I think there is appreciating the process, as we have mentioned. Yeah. Sylvia, any success factor from this story? I could open it up. Sylvia, I could open it up to Pastor Vitalis, Tabitha, Mary, and Harrison. Maybe any of us could just mention any success factor that you have picked from that story.
I think I've picked consistency. Consistency is quite outstanding for me there. Patience, because you can imagine all the way the 4 years or thereabout.
Yeah.
And very clear laser focus, very objective, and of course the results. Good show.
Yeah. Susan, anything to add on what has been shared?
Well, I think it is very important as a leader to be a good listener, to understand and not to judge whoever is coming to you. And you do the follow-up, because the moment you do the follow-up, you know the progress of whatever you are doing, and that will lead to success. Thank you.
Yeah. Susan, maybe the last question. On the three roles, the consultant, counselor, and cheerleader, where do you find yourself in that engagement?
Well, I'm a very good counselor. Let me, for counseling, I'm so good in that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a good counselor.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that sums it up because I think even what you are explaining, the consistency that has been mentioned, the patience, not judging, and this is what we are saying. A counselor is there to listen, guide, not provide answer. Just create an environment where someone can uncover their own solutions. Yeah. Their own solutions so that they can sustain the solution. So thank you so much, Susan. I think that's a very good case. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you too.
Yeah.
Thank you too.
Good. I think leaders, you'll allow me. We could move on, but maybe if there is someone who had prepared to say something, I could allow a comment first from either Tabitha, Mary, Pastor Vitalis, or Harrison. Anybody who would wish to add in addition to what we have shared?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mary.
Okay, thank you. I've learned a lot from mentorship. And I'd like to share some views that I have seen from the mentorship and the mentors. And one thing I could say is that it's very important for a mentor to understand that there are people who are looking onto them, and they have several aspects they can transfer to the mentee. For example, a mentor possesses variable knowledge and skills which they have gained through their experience, which in return they can transfer their wisdom to their mentee, which help them in avoiding common pitfalls and make better decisions and acquire their expert faster. For example, maybe a mentee have a career that want to achieve and want to make it go through. But by looking at the mentor who is mentoring him or her and have already gained skill from that person, it helps someone to create a positive attitude toward a certain goal. Another thing, mentors usually help the mentee to have what we call personal growth and development. And this one usually boosts the mentee confidence and self-esteem. Another thing I learned on the importance of mentors, they can help the mentee to identify and set their goals, which in return, through them, they can be able to achieve those goals by having skills that they have transferred from the mentors. And in conclusion, to cut the story short, I can say that mentors usually play a vital role in personal and professional growth. That is the knowledge transfer, fostering a supportive and encouraging environment for individuals whom in return they are seeking guidance from. And it usually, in mentorship process, usually benefit both the mentors and the mentees, which in return create a positive impact to both the individual and the society as whole. So I'd like us to keep on encouraging, be a mentor to someone, because I know I've been mentor to many, which I also feel proud of that. Because when someone says, oh, you are my mentor, you feel like, oh, I need to check on my character. I need to walk on a positive path. Because as a mentor, when you go to the other side, you make your mentee to fall down, which leads to a downfall. Yet someone had trust in you and knew that if I walk like Mary, I'll be able to achieve my goal. I'll be able to become an international. Maybe if it's a reader, I'll be able to help other people in the society. I don't have much to say on that. Thank you.
Wow, Mary, that was a very, very good summary. Really summarized this topic quite well. Thank you so much. And I
Thank
think,
you.
Mary, you have also brought another aspect of, I think just accountability, again, what we had mentioned, where when we make it open, I have a role. I know people are who are looking up to me, and both of us know it's not hidden. It's clear, and therefore I have to scale up myself. I have to ensure that I maintain some standards that will add more value to my mentee. Among the other things that you have really made a very good summary, and we really appreciate that, Mary. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So leaders,
Welcome.
thank you. Leaders, I want us to move on to the last discussion, the power of personal growth and development. I felt it was important just to pause there for a few minutes because that topic is so important. We may not have done exhausted the topic because I'm sure we could have talked a lot about mentorship, but it's a continuous curve, it's a continuous learning. So let's continue investigating and maybe exploring more on that particular topic. I want to conclude by looking at lesson 15, the power of personal growth and development in leadership. Again, very important discussion here. This will be more of a summary. We are now trying to put all that we have learned into a package and see what is the way forward. We've been together in this, we've built some momentum. How do we maintain the momentum? We've been doing book reviews. Once we are done with this book, how do we maintain that momentum? Build a momentum to be in class for every Tuesday. Now we have some momentum that we can leverage on. So to start off, I'll share the word stretch as an acronym. This is important for when it comes to issues of personal growth. S is about sacrifice, and leaders will tell, for us to be here every Tuesday, it comes at a cost. There is a high level of sacrifice in terms of time, mostly in terms of time, and also other resources. Again, it has taken time. T is time. Growth calls for sacrifice. Personal growth and development calls for sacrifice. It also calls for time, calls for resilience. There are times, I'm sure, in that process, some would feel like they will give up and you have to continue bouncing back. And that's why we are still together in this conversation tonight. Again, environment. Growth requires a conducive environment. And I'm sure this has been a very, very good environment to be able to sit down together, learn from each other. Tenacity, we have to keep going, consistency. And then growth also has to be holistic. We have to ensure that we are growing in a more holistic way. Picture that stool with the three legs, and one leg is longer than the other one. It will lose balance. So as we grow, we have to ensure that all the legs are equally taken care of, so that one of them is not growing taller than the other one. So there was a challenge here that I shared at the beginning, and I want to remind you, what programs or activities are you engaging in currently for enhancement of your personal growth and development? And again, I say this class could be one case that you can refer to. Others could be a research that you are undertaking, could be the books that you are reading, seminars and workshops that you have purposed to attend intentionally, because that is a key thing here. It has to be intentional. So just to build around this discussion, personal growth is critical, and it has to, again, to be done on intention, just the way we have talked about mentorship. James Allen, the author of this book, As a Man Thinketh, he said that people are anxious to improve their circumstances. There are a lot of things that we need to fix around us. but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Because sometimes for circumstances to improve, we have to improve ourselves. Sometimes for us to make some changes within our environment, we might be required to change ourselves for the circumstances also to change. So John Maxwell, he talks about the law of intentionality, and he says that growth does not just happen. We have to be intentional about it. And the sooner we make that transition to becoming intentional about our growth, the better it is, because growth compounds and it also accelerates as we remain intentional about it. For him, the focus is mostly on personal growth. Personal growth goes beyond sometimes what we could call the educational environment, or sometimes it goes beyond that. It looks sometimes even developing just my own personal capacity, my own personal potential. And sometimes it could even go beyond just the career environment. It takes you much broader than that. So it's something that really have to be very intentional about, as John Maxwell put it. Jim Rohn, he said that learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, but if you work hard on yourself, you'll make a fortune. I have looked at his way of his perspective, and his perspective is mostly on growing in terms of our potential, growing in terms of probably our talent. That's really what he's more inclined towards, growing and nurturing our talents, not neglecting our talents. And that's the thinking around this statement by Jim Rohn. So as I said, again, very important is that this has to be planned. It has to be well executed as well. And we're saying we have to get a plan that will get us started. But again, what will keep us is what we have talked even in the previous discussion: consistency and also higher level of discipline, because that is what will give us the right results. And Craig said that successful people do consistently what others do occasionally. A very important statement, leaders. And when I came across this statement, I really tried to reflect. What did he refer to? What did he mean? What are these things that successful people do consistently that others do occasionally? One of them I thought could be the issue of personal development and growth. They're very intentional about it. You will find they are successful, yet they are still immersed in books. They are still reading. They are still learning. They are still in classes. And you wonder, what is driving them? Yeah, so this again was echoed by John C. Maxwell, that successful people do daily what unsuccessful people do occasionally. They practice daily discipline. They implement systems for their personal growth. They make it a habit to maintain a positive attitude. I think that brings some aspects there that successful people are conscious about. The daily disciplines, the personal growth, and also the positive attitude. So leaders, as we look through this discussion, it's good to look at the intentionality, look at what makes the difference. Actually, personal growth makes a lot of difference. We could all have gone through the same education system, all done the same degree, but someone else was able to do more than that. Yeah, was able to nurture something more, and you find that makes all the difference. Again, if we are growing, we are always going to be outside our comfort zone. And Albert Einstein, he said that strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value, because it's value that attracts success. We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are. So what are we saying? We are saying that we need to continuously invest in personal growth. Because the only one growth strategy that we need to think through is that we have to be intentional, we have to plan, we have to act, we have to be ready to stretch with consistency. And we are saying that growth is our prophet. I can predict or I can talk about my 5 years to come, but what determines those 5 years are the daily habits, are the daily discipline, are the commitments that I'm making to my personal growth. I've watched and I've looked at people, I've listened to them, global leaders who are doing quite well, very successful, and we'll find really what makes them stand out is how serious and committed they are on issues of personal growth and development. I've looked at documentaries of people like Bill Gates. You just see the kind of commitment they have towards their personal growth. One thing I've noticed, those people, I think they treasure their own personal life where they have their own moments. Yes, we see them, but they have those closed moments where they are just with themselves, and that's really when they're able to come up with big ideas. Yeah, so they love being with themselves so that they can really come out and bring out the best in themselves. So we grow towards opportunity, and that means that we have to continuously grow to prepare ourselves for the opportunity. Growth also calls for self-care. Very, very important, leaders. Self-care. This program, in our objectives, we say this is our self-care moment where we are asking ourselves, by the way, where am I? How am I faring? Where am I aching as a leader? Where am I doing well? Where do I need to improve? Where do I need to open up and share with other leaders, just the way we have been doing, so that I have some check and balances. I can open up and someone can look at that wound and tell you, no, this is okay. This one, we need to treat it that way. So self-care is really important for a leader. Those moments that you pause and just give to yourself, treat yourself, and just appreciate that you are the really product that probably you're taking care of many other people, but we have to also pause. So self-care is never selfish. It's never selfish. It's about ensuring that we are getting better so that we are also able to offer better services to others. Yeah. So anytime we can listen to true self and give the care it requires, we do it not only for ourselves, but for many others who are also looking up at us. We're able to refill our cups, then we can fill other people's cup. There are four essential factors of personal growth. One of them is focus. Identify an area and focus, and ensure that we keep off the distractions. 2 is consistency. Am I able to do it? Am I able to work on something consistently for a particular duration of time and maintain? Maybe it's not about, sometimes it's not the intensity. It's not the intensity, it's the consistency that makes the difference. I think one thing that have really derailed many people is the intensity. We want to start and do it a lot. We can start, but just being consistent, 10 minutes, 20 minutes of exercise, of reading a book, and then gradually we are able to scale it up. Resilience, yes, challenges will be there, but we have to be ready to bounce back, to keep focused, and also to ensure that we are growing. We must be able to say, last year I was here, this time I'm here. Last time I could think this way, but I think of a more refined way of looking at issues. My leadership has scaled up, so we also need to talk about growth, see how we are progressing. Martin Luther King Jr. said that if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Growth is about maintaining our progress. It's about making sure that we don't stop, but even if we start with the little steps, we are more consistent on those little steps. Robin Sharma, the author of that book, The Leader Who Had No Title, he said the swiftest way to triple your success is to double your investment in personal growth. And leaders, I think for me, I can fully attest to this. I think I've seen a lot when I started focusing on these issues of leadership. It has gone beyond even what I could say that maybe I do in terms of career. It's gone beyond that. And this has become like another big career in this journey. So, and it comes again with so many other things in terms of how you feel as part of your success. So, as we invest in this, it really makes the difference. Yes, it's not easy because the success iceberg shows us that sometimes what people will see up there, a lot has gone for that success to be visible. Yeah, a lot of persistence, a lot of personal growth and development moments down there. Nobody's knowing what you're happening. Nobody knows that you're in class now, but a lot is happening. But now when you emerge, when you come up, when you talk, when you are leading, when you're talking about leadership, is like, wow, what happened? It's the down moments that are now becoming manifested. So there's a lot that goes into personal growth, and that is beneath the iceberg. What happens beneath the iceberg actually also dictates what is visible in the iceberg. So as we continue to sharpen ourselves, then we realize even the work of leadership becomes more easier. Abraham Lincoln said if he had 6 hours to chop down a tree, he would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. And I think I've realized sometimes this is where we get it wrong. Yeah, we want to spend more time cutting the tree than sharpening ourselves. Then leads to a disaster. Nobody wants to lead. When you want to appoint people to leadership, nobody wants to be in leadership. The question probably could be, have we sharpened ourselves? How have we sharpened our leaders? That could be the issue. I remember in a number of sessions, I had a discussion with the leaders, especially with pastors, and we could have a conversation around this. When we appoint our leaders, do we sharpen them? They might be passionate, they might be willing, but again, if we don't sharpen them, the willingness, the passion could go down. So we need to work around that passion, willingness with knowledge and skills. Then we have a good balance to ensure that they use less effort and be able to get more results. But if we don't work it that way, they'll be using 80% effort, getting very little results, which can be very frustrating to the leader and also very frustrating to the appointing authority. So leaders, what are we talking about? Personal growth. We are saying this is a lifelong process. Discovering ourselves, developing, improving our skills, our abilities. And why do we do this? To ensure that we get maximum effectiveness, efficiency, and growth. Yeah, and this has to encompass all the areas, be it physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, social, financial state. Remember, I talked about that stool with 3 legs. So we have to ensure that all the legs are taken care of so that we improve performance, we have balance, we also optimize the potential and other resources that we are endowed with. So there are particular segments we need to focus on in our personal growth. 1, skills enhancement, the mental conditioning, and habit creation. So for the skill enhancement, what skills? We need to focus on some particular skills, yeah, personal skills, personal abilities, and competences. Maybe it could be communication skills, among others. And then mental conditioning, yeah, developing our minds, the positive outlook, the resilience. This is where we're talking about attitude as well. And then habit creation, yeah, development of behaviors and thoughts, yeah, some particular consistent habits that we develop towards our personal growth and development. So personal growth and development, again, it has some goals, which include, 1 could be defining and planning, where we have personal development plans. So we have, that's like the main goal there. And then we focus on issues like improving our self-awareness. Again, leaders, remember, we have talked about this. Self-knowledge, we've talked about that as well. Skills and personality, improving or building our identity and self-esteem, understanding our strengths, our weakness, and how to leverage on the strength and how to work around the weakness. Sometimes it also goes to issues of career improvement, improving potential, how do we tap into our potential, employability, lifestyle, for example, the quality of life and time management, improving our health, improving our social status or value, again, relationships, emotional intelligence, very important, and then spiritual identity development and recognition. So within our personal growth, all these things are important, and all of them needs to be part of that stool that we talked about, a holistic growth. Yeah. So in terms of relationships, in terms of health and wellness, in terms of career, sometimes in terms of also finance, we have mentioned that, and also in terms of recreation. This is more of a summary of what I have highlighted up there. So there is a planning process when it comes to personal development, and it always starts with what we did earlier on: self-analysis, personal reflection, and honest appraisal. Leaders, remember, we had a SWOT analysis, we had a personality test earlier. We've really asked a lot of questions in these discussions just to be able to understand ourselves. Yeah, so personal growth starts with personal analysis. Then we're able to set some goals from our analysis, and then we come up with the objectives which will guide our analysis. So this will be part of the self-evaluation for this week. It will really guide us so that we are able to address this, what we are discussing tonight. So we start with the discovery, where we have analysis, then we develop, then we master a particular area, then we are able to actualize. That sums up. It sums up the process. Yeah. So again, the other model that we could adopt, again relating to the 3 areas or the 4 areas, we start with self-assessment. Yeah. So personal development process starts here. Learn about your skills, personality, and interests. Again, we talked about that. Discovery, identify strength and weakness. Again, leaders, remember, we talked about this. So we are putting everything now into context, just summing up. And then goal setting, short-term, long-term goals, into a vision and reality, all that. So goals will help us to be able to further our motivation and again make the vision to be a reality. And then after that, we act. Yeah, we action on our plan into reality. So this is the process: self-assessment, self-discovery, goal setting, then we act. Yeah, the personal development process. Okay, so again, just to put it again in connecting with the earlier one, we're saying the first stage is to establish the aims and the objectives. Yeah, what you want to achieve in short term, medium term, and long term. So those diagrams up there could be a more simplified, summarized version of what we are saying. Where am I currently? What are the gaps? Yeah, and what do I need to do to meet these gaps? What are some of the things that I need to do? Yeah, what are plans that do I need to work towards? And how do I measure my progress? How do I get feedback so that I ensure I'm able to be consistent in my growth? So this is the same cycle. So personal development plan cycle, we focus on this particular parameters. Then we have some models, some models, personal development models, the 2 of them, where you plan, you do, you check, you act. This again is a management tool, which again can also be applied when we're talking about personal development. So plan ahead for change. Well, how do I want to be like in 5 years, 10 years, or this organization to be? Yeah, and then predict the results. Then we execute the plan. We study the results, then we make improvement on areas that we feel should be improved. Again, there is another personal growth model here, where this one addresses the belief, where we look at the mindset, the issues of identity, what motivates us, then that now leads to a plan. We're able to set some goal. I'll give you an example here. Then we action the plan, then we look at the results, then we do an evaluation and redesign strategies. Let me give you an example here, just a simple example. A belief could be, I believe that reading is useful and can expand my knowledge. That's a belief. So we start from a belief. So from the belief, what is the plan? I set a goal to finish reading one book every week. That's a plan. What is the action? I place the books and my Kindle reader next to my bed. What is the results? I read every night consistently for 7 days. And then review, I track my reading habits every night with a habit tracking app. So it's that from a belief, what I believe, what I plan to do, what action do I take, what results, and then how do I review. That's another model of personal growth, growth model, this one starts from a belief. Yeah. So you can put this in the context of an organization. We can put it in the context of a country or any other. There are some attributes as we prepare to start winding up that are important. One of the attributes is focus. Remember, we talked about the 4 essential factors. Focus. Identify one cause and focus on that. There is always that temptation to do too much, but at the end of the day, when we become sharper on a particular area or become a specialist, it has more benefit. We put more, our resources are more concentrated. Yeah, so narrow down to one cause, center of interest, clear visual reference point, avoid becoming jack of all trade. We're talking about being a specialist. I also look at this maybe from the academia world, where by the time someone becomes a professor is so focused, but the impact is really huge. Come up with something that transforms the whole world, but on a particular area. Maybe the context could be different on different areas, but I think focus is very important. Positivity, keeps us focused. We need to maintain positivity because, again, as we said, the personal development stretches us. Consistency, ensuring that we focus on small efforts that we repeat day in, day out. It's not what we do once in a while that happens or shapes our life, but what we do consistently. Consistency is really important. Self-discipline, adhering to our plans. Patience is about consistently doing all that we can, but being patient about results. Yes, that deep of the iceberg, down in the iceberg, sometimes nobody tells what is happening, but the results will show up with time. Persistence, yes, maintaining a will as constant as time in pursuit of what? That which we believe is important and what we focus on. Finally, leaders, there are some principles of personal development based on Chinese bamboo tree. Just again relating to the factors, the factors I've shared there. It is said that Chinese bamboo tree, the seed, it's so hard that when it is planted, it doesn't come out until 5 years are over. That seed is so hard that when it's planted, it doesn't come out until 5 years. So down 5 years, the farmer cannot see anything, but the farmer has to continue watering the seed that the farmer cannot see. So for 5 years, nothing is happening, yet the farmer has to continue watering the seed consistently, with the positivity, with patience, with self-discipline, with focus, and also with hope that one day it will emerge. Yeah. So the question is, does the Chinese bamboo tree, does those 5 years count? Yes, they do. Because when the seed germinates, it is said that the Chinese bamboo tree grows between 90 to 80 feet. Yeah. In 6 weeks. It grows rapidly. Within a very, very short time, again, we are able to see the Chinese bamboo tree growing very fast. Remember, there are 5 years, nothing was happening. And this one can be compared with sometimes with personal growth. We invest a lot of time, a lot of resources. Sometimes we may not see anything, but wait until we break and now we get to the tip. That is where now the real success starts to manifest. So leaders, this is just to inspire and encourage us that just like the Chinese bamboo tree, sometimes we may not notice, but something is really happening. And those 5 years down there really matters and they really count, because when you come out, then the growth, the success could be much, much faster because of how we invested. So we need to watch out for personal growth and development traps. One of them is environment. Environment could promote or choke our development. So we need to consistently, I think, establish an environment that supports personal development wherever we are as leaders. Mindset, yes, where we have a fixed mindset, where we do not have a mindset that appreciate personal growth, that again could be another trap that could hinder personal growth and development. Albert Einstein said we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So we have to consistently have an open mind to learn, an environment where there is a learning culture, where we value the triple loop learning kind of thinking. So again, there are some habits that could also be traps. Yeah. So self-defeating habits that do not promote growth. So as we work on our growth, we need to continuously shift from the comfort zone, which again could be a trap, move towards the fear zone. Again, because now we are discovering, we're finding more, we want to understand more of what is happening outside beyond what we know. Then we get to the learning zone, where we deal with the challenges and problems, acquire new skills. Then growth zone. This is where we really are able to consistently understand ourselves and consistently learn, find purpose, live our dreams, and all that. So growth requires all this. It requires the right environment, the right mindset, and also the right habits for us to succeed. I leave you with this quote by Robert Anthony, that you can only have two things in life: results and results. Reasons don't count. Remember, this quote came earlier when we were starting, and it was just an encouragement that there's a lot competing for our time, but again, there are things that are so important that cannot be left with the reasons alone. We have to really stretch out so that we ensure we handle and embrace some of these things that are very important. One of them being personal growth and development. We are saying the measure of personal growth is results and impact. So leaders, that brings us to the end of this discussion, module 15. And maybe as I wind up, let me just share this reminder. Then I will wind up with some two reactions. I see already our time is quite gone. So I'm sharing these two reminders. On Saturday, 29th, we have a special talk by one of us. She will be talking about intentional networking. Josephine Wanjiro, who is the Chief Officer, Land, Physical Planning and Urban Development at County Government of Murang'a. She's really spoken about this topic on different forums that we have had in the previous, and we felt we need to bring her on board so that we can all benefit from these conversations. So all of us will connect, including those who have already finalized this program. So we shall share a reminder so that you can plug in and we learn together. Secondly, we have a trainer of leaders. If you want to be a leader, you want to be a trainer or a facilitator of our programs, we have a special session on 19th of August 2023, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Memorial Park, Nairobi. This one, normally it's for those who have already finalized the masterclass, but since we might take some time before we organize for another one, we are opening a window for you and so that you can plug in and also be part of this training. So after this training, then you will be able to facilitate any session that you will select, because you are the one to select a preferred lesson. So I'll also post this on the group, and then you can proceed and register. So the charges are 3,000 because these are full day. So we'll have some tea, we'll have some lunch, and we'll also have some writing materials, among other things that we need for that particular day. So leaders, thank you so much. I wish to stop there for tonight. I have received some of the proposal on the project proposal. So allow me to continue engaging with you through the email. And some of you have also called and we have had a conversation. But remember, next week we only have one lesson. So most of the time we'll be on the proposal, so that again we'll be able to prepare for the other week, which will now focus purely on project proposal. So just feel free, continue sharing. I'll also continue reverting as quickly as I get your feedback. Otherwise, I want to stop there and appreciate you. Apologize that we have gone beyond our time tonight. That's why I just want to close it at this. I don't know if we can get any reaction from your end. It's always fair, just even if it's just one person, then we close it up. Yeah, anybody who may wish to share a comment, we can take just 2 minutes, then we wind up. Okay, Susan, you have any comments? Teresia? Mr. Harrison?
Yeah, I'm okay, but I think I have enjoyed that idea of mentors a lot. It resonates with me a lot. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Pastor Vitalis, any observation as we wind up?
Yes. Good evening, members.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, I've enjoyed, and it has been clear that in any other days, it has been clear. I've enjoyed, and also I've come back. I lost a phone, and I've tried other means to get into the class, to get back into the class. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
Yes.
Talked about resilience. Appreciate for that, getting our way out. Yes, Teresia?
I would also want to just say, in regard to development, the skills, and the more we know, the more we share. The little we know, the measure will still be the same. So the best thing is to improve ourselves. As we have seen, it's a continuous process, so that we are able to give more of what we have, and we get it through knowledge, acquiring knowledge, and also we are able to transform other other people, the ones we are leading, and we'll have a way of developing them also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Mary, I see you had unmuted.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Mary.
I've learned a lot from the today's session. I like to thank God for everything. I don't have much more to say, but indeed, I have learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate. Tabitha. Okay. Susan. Okay, I think leaders, we are good to go. I really appreciate we have really engaged, really shared. That's the spirit. As I said, it's about collective wisdom, learning from all of us here. I will leave you with one word: self-care. Self-care. As leaders, there is a lot on our hands, but we also need to be on our hands. So as we sit down, share resources on what we need to do, who requires those resources, then we also need to be on that table, that we are part and parcel of the resources, so that we can consistently continue doing what we have done together here, investing in our growth, investing also in our special moments. This year, we had a graduation that was an overnight. And I told leaders it's about self-care. Let's also go out there, spend a night there together as leaders, spend some night somewhere and just have some bathtubs and just enjoy yourself in a way. Reflect, connect, sometimes away from the family, because we are the real resource here, and we have to also be on the table, and we also have to be part of the resources that we are working for. So leaders, that is what I will leave you with. That's something that I want all of us to just reflect. Maybe you are already doing it, but there is always room to be able to improve. So I leave you with one word, self-care. Tabitha, thank you. I see your message. Thank you for the opportunity. I have really learned a lot. My phone is letting me down. Yes, I've seen your message and we appreciate. Otherwise, leaders, thank you so much. I want to say we really appreciate your time. We appreciate your resources. And the big resource here is time. Thank you so much for investing your time in this masterclass. So let's say a prayer. God, we thank you for the opportunity we have had tonight. We have learned, we have reflected, and we continue to reflect. Help us to focus on self-care on all the areas: spiritually, physically, intellectually, socially, emotionally, and all the other dimensions that are critical for us to be able to have a balanced growth. We continue to pray and declare that with you, we cannot achieve all that we have planned today. But when we put our hope in you, our trust in you, then we can be successful. We commit even the remaining classes to you. Pray for all our members. You, God, continue guiding us, and we thank you for this journey and the far that we have come. Tonight, as we take some time to rest, be together with us and give us a blessed night. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much,
Thank
leaders.
you.
Amen.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Amen. Wish you a blessed night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Same
Bye.
to you.
Night.